Hey, Joanne here, checking in to do my week 2 update of doing the study called Navigating Your Finances God's Way. It was a challenging week, definitely some ups and downs, and stick around and hear all the juicy details. If you're really new to my channel, just really quickly want to invite you to subscribe. My goal is to share my journey on not only becoming completely debt free, but leading and putting God first in my finances and operating my finances under God's direction. So if that's of any value to you, I share a lot of tips and tricks. I share what I learned from this study that I highly recommend. And welcome to subscribe. All right, so week 2, ups and downs. I'll start off with the one question that I actually chewed on a lot, and that is, I hear it a lot because I read different books as I was doing this, and one of them was Dave Ramsey's book on, I think it's a debt-free resolution or something like that, but the Money Makeover. But I didn't read that one. I read his most recent one. But in the book, he talks about having gazelle intensity when you're getting out of debt. And that's just about, like really focused and pushing hard and to get out of debt as quickly as possible. And I felt like my pace wasn't really fast. And then so I started to question myself if I was really applying gazelle intensity. And I had to be honest with myself and say no. And so when I answered that question, then I had to go to the next question to say, how could I really up my game and have gazelle intensity? And I Googled it a bit online because I felt as well like when I started, I had that intensity and then I drawed back. And it was a little bit comforting that I saw other people who had that similar struggle. And in fact, one blog that I read, they wrote that they actually had like gazelle intensity for like 3 months, and then it took a little bit of a break because it can be tiring to keep up. So anyway, that was like something that even now I have thoughts on how I can do it, but I still feel like I need to keep on looking and pushing there. So I don't know if that's something that you struggle with. I'd love to hear that in the comments below. If you're looking to pay off debt, how have you approached it with gazelle intensity? Or did you face the same struggles where it was a little bit difficult to maybe maintain that energy and focus? You eased off the pedal a bit, then you came back. So I had some other disheartening news. When I first started this study, one of the things it talks about is one of the reasons why we often get into debt is that we haven't put aside money for emergencies. So one of the things it challenges you to do is to put aside at least $1,000 towards an emergency fund. And fortunately for me, I had started to do that, put away a little bit of my salary to an emergency fund. And the disappointing news, or the news that I struggled with this week, is that I had to tap into my emergency fund and in fact use all of it, and so ground it right to zero. And it was really tough. I think if I was to admit and be fully vulnerable with you, I think I had a little bit of pride around having met that goal and achieved it. And so I struggled giving up that money. And I even started thinking, maybe I should put it on my credit card. I'm being completely honest and vulnerable with you. And I'm showing you my place in the messy state that it is, because I'm just jumping on to do this, and wanted to be completely honest and open. So yeah, I struggled, and I actually thought for a few minutes about how I could put it on a credit card, how I can make it work, and is there a way I could get a low interest on XYZ. And I just cut myself and said, Joanne, the whole reason why you have an emergency fund is because of this. And I actually remember hearing myself, maybe you're holding on to this money. Maybe that's one of your issues. You like to hold on to money. Maybe you need to really look at that root. And then, so anyway, I cashed it out and paid the emergency bill. Actually, I haven't paid it as yet. I finally got the check. I was with Sun Life because, again, one of the things about your emergency fund, it tells you to put it where you won't be as easy to reach. And so with Sun Life, they couldn't even send me the money like direct to my account. I had to wait for a check in the mail. So if you're looking for a place in Canada to save your money, your emergency funds money that will be hard to get at and will take time to get when you do need it, Sun Life is the one. Anyway, I actually left them feedback. I like, this is digital age. I should be able to get my money by direct transfer within 2-3 days, but I digress. So that was the disheartening news. I felt it was really a lesson that the Holy Spirit and God was sharing with me to build my character. One, to cut me to the quick with the pride and recognize that everything comes from Him, which is one of the themes of the first couple chapters of the study. And I think also to humble me and to make me more reliant on Him. So that was one thing. I guess flip side, the good news is I completed my 30-day tracking of all my expenses. And now I did it on my Google Sheets like I shared with you guys. So now I'm actually going to spend, after I log off of this live, I will go in and really look at and map it to the actual sheets they have in the book here and really analyze. And I think, again, that scenario of having to pull my emergency funds, it kind of shows me the up and flow, and it could ponder a few different things than when I had done my tracking of my spending a couple of months ago when I first started trying to get out of debt and really get a handle and manage my finances well. Now, I remember there was something else I wanted to share that it was a challenge and temptation for me as a Christian. I really believe in tithing, and I have to admit and be vulnerable with you, when I got stuck, I had the temptation to stop my tithing and to direct that money elsewhere. And I'm so grateful that the Holy Spirit convicted me, and I was reminded of the verse in the Bible where God says to test me on that one. So, I forget how exactly it was written in the book that I highly recommend, called Your Money Counts, which is one of the books that you would get when you purchase the study from Compass Canada. But it talks about the tithe just being the start. And it's really just a hedge around, like, when you tithe that 10%, it creates that hedge around that 90% and that protection and that guidance from God around that other 90%. And so in my mind, when I got that temptation, not only did I think about that verse where God says, test me on that one principle, but I also was reminded of what I read in the book. And I'm like, at this point in time, I need as much protection as I can get, because now I have zero emergency funds. This is not the time to step out of God's protection on my finances. So yeah, and then the other thing I have to admit is that I haven't completed all the work as yet for week 2. So I want to get through that. So actually I made a point to commit to myself. I probably won't necessarily get through everything today, because part of it's memorizing a Bible verse. And, there's time that you need to reflect and chew on stuff. But I've committed that I'm going to work through my 30-day and 30-day of spending and move it to the chart and do the analysis and work through quite a few of the questions and the homework questions around week 2 of this study. So I really want to say as I end this video, you know, I really want to be authentic about my journey in hopes of encouraging you, because maybe you started just like me, and maybe you had a few of the similar temptations or thoughts come through your head. And I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that this is part of the journey. This is part of the growth. And I want to encourage you to keep going, because the very last thought and temptation I had was to quit. And I was driving home and I remember looking and thinking, if I quit, then there's no escape. I'm stuck in where I'm at. But if I want something different, I have to do something different, right? So that's my last few words and thoughts that I want to share with you. I welcome your comments. You know, the question I really still chewing on that I'd love to hear you comment about is, what do you think is gazelle intensity? And what are some of the things that you've done that have allowed you to have that gazelle intensity for a longer period of time, or effectively in your journey to not only becoming debt-free, but becoming financially sound in God first. I was thinking of another way to say that just because anyway, it's late, I'm tired. So welcome your comments. Thanks for checking out this video, and remember to subscribe. See you in the next video.